are the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Everybody, welcome to the New York Knicks podcast, episode 618. I am Jay. With me is Mark. How you doing, Mark?
Good. It's been a little while. I think the last time we did an episode, the Knicks had just been eliminated from the playoffs, and we said we'd be back real soon.
This is real soon in the grand scheme of life.
I don't know. Did we do a show? Maybe we did a show before the...
No. We haven't done a show in like a month and a half. The longest break
Okay.
we've ever gone. But that's fine. We're back. And
We're back. It's the summer. Not much is going on. It's
Yeah.
the time for breaks.
I don't know how people do weekly shows during the summer. It's really... It's
People
slow.
release
It's
multiple
slow.
shows a week with nothing going on, where they're just doing shows about rumors that are not even realistic whatsoever. Anyway, we're going to do a couple shows this summer at most, unless anything actually happens. How you doing, Jay?
Doing pretty good. I am doing pretty good. So we have a new YouTube channel. It's at NY Knicks Podcast on YouTube. So we're going to be doing the live shows there going forward. I'm streaming them on both channels right now, just during the transition.
For
period.
the transition.
So all 5 of you who watch the shows live on YouTube can switch over. Anyway,
Yes.
The Knicks actually made a couple moves. Peripheral moves, but we should talk about them.
Yeah. Everyone's probably, if you're listening to the show, you're probably a hardcore enough a Knicks fan to know what's going on, but we're going to give you our view on that stuff, because why the hell not?
I know
It's not
people have been
I hadn't-
like, I know the Knicks made a move, but how do Mark and Jay feel about this?
Well, that's why you listen to the podcast. No other reason, like, just to give a shit about what we think about it. Yeah. I don't know. How do you feel about overall, before we even get into it, how do you feel about the offseason so far?
Not bad. Not bad. I'd say a little above neutral.
Okay.
And
I mean,
feel that way because
Because
the Knicks really got exposed by not having outside shooters, and they got a really good one. So I'm happy about that.
it's going to be awkward when the next season they're really exposed by not having a backup power forward.
Well, that's the downside to it. But I mean, I think Donte is a really good signing. Another reasonable contract. The Knicks have, for the first time, I think, in my life, they have no bad contracts.
No. I know
It's
the
crazy.
half of Nick's Twitter thinks Randall's not a bad contract, but they hate his existence. But
I mean, when
really,
you have guys
Knicks
like Dylan Brooks making the same salary, basically, as Randall, like, Randall's contract's looking better and better.
the only bad contract I guess they have is Evan Fournier. But they really don't have any other bad contracts.
Right.
And Fournier's contract's not even...
It's not terrible.
debilitating.
And, yeah.
It's just there for, if the Knicks can figure out a big trade, we need some cap filler. It sucks for Fournier because he's probably not going to play that much this year, but hopefully they can figure out a trade that involves him at some point.
I mean, he's basically Duncan Robinson, and Robinson has an even worse contract.
Yeah, I mean, he's better than Duncan Robinson, but Duncan, I don't know, Duncan Robinson even contract even that bad because he played pretty well in the playoffs.
He did, but anyway, Donte, 4 years, about 12.5 million a year. Pretty good. He gets injured a lot, but he is a knockdown 3-point shooter, and that is exactly what the Knicks need.
He's a good 3-point shooter. He plays good. He plays really well on defense. He's a guy. He brings the same kind of energy that Josh Hart brings. So you can't not like this addition to the team.
His true shooting percentage has gone up every year he's been in the league, too.
Yeah, he's one of these guys that really plays all out. He can shoot threes. He's a team-first guy. He went to Villanova, and we're trying to build the Villanova Knicks. Do you think... So Mikal Bridges is a free agent in 2 years. Do you think the plan is that we will get Bridges in 2 years?
I think that would be a good plan.
It wouldn't be a bad plan. It doesn't seem completely ridiculous because, like, you got 3 of the guys. I mean, Bridges and Hart, like, messaging each other on like Twitter.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems like they would love to, if they could just make it happen. It seems like they'd love to play together. I mean, obviously the Nets will probably offer Bridges a huge contract at some point, and it'll,
Contracts mean nothing
easiest.
anymore.
No, they. I think. What do you think about this? How the contracts have changed? Like it used to be, to switch teams, you had to become a free agent, or maybe in year 4 of your 4-year contract, you could force a trade. I cannot believe guys are like, give me a max contract. 6 minutes later, they're like, I need to be traded.
I think it's ridiculous. How do you even build a team like that if players can just do that? And now there's rumors that Dame's agents are calling the other teams and telling them not to trade for him, which seems like, isn't that like reverse tampering? Shouldn't there be a rule against that?
Every time some guy tries to be like, I don't want to be the bad guy here. Like Dame was like, I don't want to be the bad guy. I want to do best by Portland. Fine, it's not going to work out. Trade me, but you can only trade me for almost nothing.
Yeah, and only to this one team who has like the 8th best package they can offer.
Well, they were going through on another podcast, maybe it was a Low Post, or they were going through the possible like trade scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
And if Miami can turn Tyler Hero into a first round pick from another team, the package wouldn't be horrendous. There aren't like a lot of great like they're going through team by team, and like obviously the best package is from Miami, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. If Miami really just throws in the kitchen sink to get him,
I guess it's just frustrating. Like I don't know.
It's frustrating because this is terrible for the league. A guy signs a contract and does not respect the contract. And I get like maybe Portland also kind of wants to move on from it. Portland's like, you know what, we're going a different direction. We got Scoot, but it just doesn't. It's just that the fact that guys are now like they called it, Bill Simmons on his podcast. They called it and I think he might have gotten this from someone else. They call it the transfer portal, like in college sports, where guys just like transfer. Now players are like, hey, you know what? I don't want to be on Portland anymore. Can you transfer me? Like, the contracts don't matter. I'm just going to sign the contract no matter what.
Yeah. I don't like it.
And I can't believe they signed the CBA without doing anything about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think they signed the CBA before they realized how bad it was going to get.
I mean, it's gotten pretty bad. Guys are keep like getting. I also don't know watch the Wizards. Why in God's name would the Wizards re-up, give Beal this huge contract, including a no trade clause, and then the following season trade him?
The no trade clause was the crazy
thing
part about that. I mean,
that was completely batshit crazy. But it's also kind of batshit crazy to give him this contract when you know it's just a terrible idea to begin with.
Yeah. They felt like they had no stars and they're not a free agency destination, so they're going to keep the best guy they have. I kind of get that, but
I feel like teams should also be like, hey, I know we're not a free agency destination, but we can foresee this being a bit that's not working out sooner. How about a year ago, just trade the dude? Like, before you re-up the giant contract with Dame, just go like, this is not working out. We're just going to have to trade Dame. Like, have some foresight.
Or just, I know everybody wants a max contract, but in reality, there's probably only like 6 to 10 guys that should be getting a max contract.
Yeah, but now everyone gets one.
Now everyone gets one.
LaMelo Ball is getting like $50 million. Freaking insane.
So anyway, the Knicks traded Obi. We kind of knew that was coming. The Knicks leaked audio of Obi fighting with Tibbs.
Allegedly. We don't know who leaked it, but obviously it was probably the Knicks. But someone leaked it.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, there was only Knicks staff in the room, so...
it could have been, it could have been Obi's team. Maybe they wanted to force a trade.
Could have been. What do you think about... So the Knicks got 2 second-round picks, and both of them are the worst of certain scenarios. So they're probably going to be between 54 and 60.
Yeah, so or maybe a slightly better. Who knows?
So basically
but
free.
I basically, the problem with the Obi trade is clearly if the Knicks were like, we're just going to be self-interested here, they basically would have gotten a better. You can get more for him. I mean, maybe they didn't want Duarte back. Chris Duarte was traded for 2 second-round picks. Maybe they don't like Duarte and they didn't want to get him back. But I feel like you could have gotten second-round picks just sooner or better second-round. Like, if you really wanted to trade Obi and get the full value, I think the Knicks said, hey, we want to do a solid for Obi, which I don't understand doing. Like, it's a business. You don't do a solid for a guy that you're getting rid of. We want to do a solid for him so we can get playing time elsewhere. So we're going to try to trade him to the best situation. On the positive, the Knicks get really in with Obi's agent, Leon Rose's son. I don't know how else you would have curried favor with Leon Rose's son. But that's one way to do it, is trade his player to get paid elsewhere. I think Leon Rose, to a certain extent, he's an agent. He feels too much empathy for the player side of it. And because of that, maybe he's just like, I want to do solid by this player. When to be a good, and Leon's done a lot of good things. He has some bad things also. It's a mixed bag there. Knicks are in a good place overall. Best place they've been in 20 years. But you can fairly criticize him for certain things. And here, I think he put helping Obi over the Knicks' needs. I also feel like there's a strange thing with him where he doesn't want to draft players anymore.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I feel like he realizes he messed up the Obi draft. Say what you want about Obi, he should have drafted Halliburton. I know they got Brunson. They could have had both of them. But anyway, I think he knows he messed up that draft, and now he's paranoid about drafting in the first half of the first round. And so he keeps trading down
in the first half. I think he doesn't want. He likes the team he's building. I know he hasn't. They didn't have a draft pick really last year. So they had Keels, I guess, and they don't have one this year. By things just worked out that way. But I get the sense he wants the picks only for like a big as a part of a. He wants all these picks to be in the future, so you can use them as a trade. He doesn't want to make the picks to add people to the roster.
Right, but that trade. Is it actually happening, or is this all just like?
Well, you could look at So you could look at it two ways. One, look at the players that are quote unquote available, and maybe he's looked at these guys and go like, they're not necessarily good fit. Like, look at the guys like you could trade for. Mm-hmm. Do you want him doing a big trade for Dame? Do you want him to do a big trade for Dame?
No.
Okay, it doesn't. Dame's awesome. I don't think he's a good fit next to Brunson. You're building it wouldn't make sense. Do you want him trading a huge trade for Zach LaVine?
No.
Okay. Do you want him making a huge trade for OG Anunoby?
What's your definition of huge?
Well, teams are asking for everything. If some reason you could trade a second-round pick for Bradley Beal, but if the Knicks are involved, you have to give everything you have.
Right. It's like 3 first-rounders, 3 players, and your firstborn son.
The rumor was that for Paul George, the Knicks called us. The Knicks have been inquiring and just have not liked the price of players.
That's fine.
So if the price was cheap for Paul George, would you do it? Like a cheap offer. Like, let's just say this is not the case, but would you like Paul George in the Knicks?
Like a Bradley Beal second-round pick offer?
Yeah, just in general, you think he'd be a good player on the team.
I do.
It'd be a big addition. So
yeah, he's really good. I'm just worried about $40 million a year when he's like 36 and 37.
So I think part of it was they said that with the trade, Paul George expects an extension. The Knicks weren't excited about that.
4 years, and then the $160 million.
Yeah, so that's one thing. And the trade, the alleged reported trade was Obi Toppin, which don't want to trade Obi. Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier. So mostly Grimes there. And 3 first-round picks in exchange for George. Do you do that trade? And the 3 first-round picks are, they're Knicks first-round picks. They're not the protected
If we're talking like Washington and Detroit, fine.
Yeah, but it's not that. No one thinks they have any value. So it's going to be 3 Knicks first-round picks plus Grimes. And you have to sign Paul George to a massive deal, and you're done making moves.
I feel like it's not so much don't do that. It's more what Rose, I think, is doing is like, let's see if something better becomes available.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of like, do we have to pull a trigger this summer, or we could wait we could wait to the trade deadline or the following summer. At some point, you have to put your chips in and do something, but you don't have to rush to make a move that might not be that smart.
Honestly, with the way players are just asking out now, literally anybody, like Giannis tomorrow could be like, trade me. Like, you never know anymore. It's crazy.
That's the thing. Do you want to keep your chips and go like, hey, Philly looks kind of messed up. Maybe we can get Embiid. And as much as Paul George is good, or I'd rather unload my chips for Embiid.
Right.
Or, I mean, some people want Zion. I don't think Zion's a great idea, but there are other guys that could make more sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, even maybe Mikal Bridges in 2 years is goddamn awesome. And he's like, hey, Nets, I'm just not going to play here. Thank you for giving me the contract, but the ink was dry yesterday. Can you trade me to the Knicks now?
Right. Yeah, maybe, or maybe 3 games into the season when he realizes the stands are half empty and that Brooklyn sucks.
I mean, you have to, like, you're playing in Brooklyn. Who the hell wants to play in Brooklyn with like an inferior franchise in your state, and also your 3 friends are having a great time playing in Manhattan.
Yeah, like 20 minutes away.
Yeah. But like, I can kind of, like, he also may look at this like, hey, last year we got as far as we've gotten in 20 years, or like a decade, like since Melo was here. We had a great season. Things are going well. When we added Josh Hart, the team got better. Why don't we, if nothing looks perfect, just add Donte DiVincenzo, make a smart move, see how this roster plays together. They'll gel for another year. Maybe we go from, and how many wins did the Knicks have last year? 47?
I think so. 5th seed.
Yeah, maybe we're a 50-win team. Maybe we have a little better chance in the East this year. And maybe that leads us to the next, like, would you rather try to be smart and win, hopefully really be a contender in the next 3 years, or try to do like Chicago did a couple of years ago, where they tried to go all in, and they should blow up the team now because Chicago's absurd.
I mean, if you've listened to the show for a while, you know I've never been a fan of let's go all in for X star with no way out of it, and just like, especially when that star is past his prime. I think it's fair to say, like, a lot of these Dame and Paul George, they're like, what? They're both 33.
Yeah, these guys are older.
Not a good time to go all in on these guys.
Joel Embiid is 29. Would you, in the next year, would you go all in for him? He seems like a difference maker.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you have to like be willing to make these moves.
I just had to think about it because, like, he does have an injury history, and big men hitting 30.
He's
a risk.
been more healthy. I mean, he's recency bias, but he's been more healthy the last few years than, like, if he plays 60-plus games for you, and he's healthy for the playoffs, that's all you need.
Yeah.
By the way, Donovan Mitchell will be a free agent in 2 years also, because he hasn't re-upped yet with Cleveland.
He might just ask out if they have a bad season this year.
I mean, who knows? But, like, I don't know. Like, it's, on the one hand, the offseason has been kind of boring from Knicks world. On the other hand,
we're not angry.
I'm not angry. I don't hate this move. I think the team is interesting still. They came off a really good year. Guys are going to get better. You think Brunson in year 2 of running this team will only be better. Hopefully Randall can go back to his regular season form. Like, RJ seemed to figure some stuff out in the playoffs.
Honestly, the age of these players, literally every guy on the roster should theoretically get better.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Hart just needs to look more on his offense. Like, it's also, guys will play better when they just
have chemistry.
You're building a team that's playing together for year after year. It should make a big difference.
Yeah.
IQ I think maybe a third of the way through the season, started really figuring things out, had a great regular season, was invisible in the playoffs. If Emmanuel quickly just looks better in the playoffs, the Knicks might have, like, at least played Boston. They might have beaten Miami.
Yeah.
It's not crazy. So overall, I think we both agree, like, Leon's offseason, it's not fireworks, but it's not like,
yeah, I think he could have gotten more for Obi. I think the Donte move was very smart. He's also got chemistry with Brunson and Hart, which is also a plus. But besides that, I just think the shooting, that the Knicks really, really needed some outside shooting, and he's an amazing 3-point shooter.
I mean, they could
one of the better in the league.
They could use more. They could use more shooting. I would have liked if they had maybe like draft picks or find more young. I wish they had some draft picks. I think it'll hurt the team really not having draft picks for the last 2 years and not having.
Of
I mean, the
course.
team isn't that old,
Of
but
course.
you always want to have a pipeline of young players.
You want to
basically.
keep, especially with if you have too many guys break out at once, you can't afford them all, and you're gonna have to get rid of them, and they're gonna have to be replaced with younger talent.
Yeah, you just want to be able to you want flexibility. So hey, we drafted this guy 2 years ago. We can trade Grimes because this other guy looks really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now, it's hard to trade guys without depleting the team.
Agreed.
Either way, it's interesting. Hopefully, Grimes gets better also in year 3. There's a lot to root for. I think when does Leon have to make a move by?
I don't think there's a time where he has to make a move.
I feel like he really needs to make a move. Try to get this team to the next level by the season after this. This season could be another year where you grow, but I think by next offseason, he has all these chips. At some point, I feel like he's got to try to make a big trade. He's got a year basically to see what comes up.
Yeah, I'd
Is that
say so.
crazy?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's crazy. I mean, I think you want to see how these guys do. What if IQ Grimes and RJ all have a much, much better season? And Randall's healthy for the playoffs. Brunson maybe plays a little bit better.
Are you taking the Randall what didn't play well in the playoffs because he wasn't healthy? Because there's a certain 40% of Knick fans think he didn't play well because he's a horrible human being or a horrible player.
I think it definitely affected his play.
I 100% think it affected. He had surgery in the offseason. People are like, just that surgery as an excuse.
I mean, he missed 2.5 weeks going into the playoffs. Yeah, he played in the playoffs, but you don't go from missing 2.5 weeks to I'm an all-star again.
I hate when people are also like, well, this other guy sprained his ankle and he looks really good. It affects everyone differently.
Yeah.
Clearly, it threw Randall off.
Randall's also gigantic. That's a lot more
man.
pressure on the ankles. He's a big, big dude.
I also think when people were like, well, the Knicks should have traded Randall, not Obi, I still think that's absurd. I wish Obi a lot of success. I mean, I don't actually. I kind of am bitter. Anyone leaves the Knicks, I want them to just do terrible so I can be right about the fact they weren't that good. But in theory, I wish him success. But I think we'll find out in Indiana, he's the player we all thought he is. He's a fun, exciting player in regards, but he's also a limited player.
Yeah, I mean, he might just put up a lot of points but not add much else, which, that's fine. He seems like a nice guy. I have nothing against him, but I don't think he's better than Randall, and I don't think it was a bad decision.
I love when Cam went to Philly. I'm sorry, went to Portland, and people were like, "Look, Cam's putting up points. He's doing all these things. He's playing. He's really good. We told you. We told you he's really good." And then he had 2 weeks of DNPs, and then Portland was like, "Okay, we don't need him anymore."
Yeah. Jay Shady writes, would you guys fire Tibbs for Jeff Van Gundy? I just feel like Tibbs is too stubborn and taking the team as far as it can go.
Yes, I would leave my wife for Jeff Van Gundy. Tibbs? Yeah, yes, I would fire him in a heartbeat for Jeff Van Gundy. Yes.
So
would you do that? I think I would. I would freaking love Jeff Van Gundy back. Do you think the fact that he's older means he can't relate to the young players anymore?
Yeah, he's been watching the game. If you watch the games he announces, he sees stuff that a lot of other people don't. I think he would be fine. And he just got fired from ESPN. ESPN, by the way, they're like, we're going to keep all our really annoying people and fire our talented people.
I didn't listen to this, but Bill Simmons had Stephen A. on to talk about the ESPN firings, and I was just like, Bill just hates ESPN. He probably feels bad for all the guys who got fired, but he's like, I kind of want to make fun of how shitty it's going for ESPN.
I mean, I'd be bitter too. He pretty much boosted them so much. He was their biggest, and they kind of screwed him over.
Yeah, they did not. I mean, he's obviously worked out well for Bill Simmons. And I'm a big fan of Bill Simmons, but I
just wish he would write again. I mean, when he put out an article, I would stop everything and read it. There's never been a writer like that.
He's a great writer. I like his podcast a lot. Also, I mean, actually, I like it when. Let's get back to talking about it. But
Yeah.
I like when he's on when he talks basketball, like Rosillo or anyone he talks basketball with. I really enjoy. I don't like when he talks. I don't love when he talks to celebrities.
No.
Um. Oh, the so here's a question, GJ. Who is the Knicks backup? Who's going to get the most minutes at backup power forward for the Knicks?
I think probably iHeart.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's So the contestants for most backup power forward minutes here are iHeart, uh, Josh Hart, RJ, and Isaiah Roby.
Well, it's not going to be Roby.
Don't think it's gonna be Roby. List them in order of minutes from most to least at the power forward spot.
I think Jay Sater said Jacob Toppin. I think it's going to be.
So weird they drafted Jacob Todd and then traded Obi. It's like we're gonna do a lot of solids for the Obi family.
Yeah. I think it's going to be iHeart, then Josh Hart, then Barrett, then Roby.
I think it's gonna be Barrett, then Josh Hart, then iHeart, then Roby. I think the main backup power forwards are going to be a mixture of Josh Hart and RJ, and they're going to just they're going to go small ball lineups basically.
I was thinking they would dust off Sims, play him as the
No.
backup 5, and move iHeart to the 4.
It does seem insane that like we gave Obi away, and now we have a hole in the roster that's just not going to be filled.
Is there a hole though?
It's kind of a hole not having a backup power forward.
But those guys can be a backup power forward.
I mean, they all
iHeart's an
are not as
undersized
big as.
center, so he's more of a power forward.
You think Isaiah iHeart's more of a power forward?
He's kind of undersized for a center.
I think he's more of a center, though. He plays more like a center. I think they're hoping the fact that guys like Donte DiVincenzo, RJ, Josh Hart are all good rebounders, and they'll help. I don't know. He must have talked to RJ to Tibbs about this ahead of time, and Tibbs must have been like, "Yeah, I'm kind of fine with this."
Yeah, because Rose never made a move without Tibbs' approval before.
Well, he did. Last time he did it was trading for Cam, and he found out what happened.
Yeah. Maybe Rose is like, maybe I should check with the coach before I make roster moves.
He's like, I'm gonna trade Obi, and Tibbs is like, "Yep, do it." And he's like, "Don't you want to know what we get back for him?" Nope. Obi's obviously not a perfect Tibbs kind of player, so it's fine. Whatever, they moved on. But I think RJ and I think I perceive being RJ and Josh Hart. Not. I think iHeart will just remain more backup center with Mitch. I don't. Do you think how well do you think it works on the floor having Mitch and iHeart out there together when neither can shoot threes?
iHeart can shoot a little bit, and he's a decent passer.
He's a very decent passer, but I think we overrate him a little bit as a passer, and he's not doesn't shoot three. He's not a 3-point shooter. He's no Brook Lopez.
Well, no, but he's Brook Lopez of the Nets.
So he'll break out when he gets to Milwaukee.
Yeah,
He'll learn how to play defense.
Yeah.
I like them both. I'm just saying I think it's more likely they'll just have RJ and Josh Hart there. The big thing is just like they're undersized for power forward. They're not undersized by so much, and especially RJ. I think there are some fans that wanted to see RJ at the 4 anyway, so this gives the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. We have some questions.
Okay.
We
are
Anthony writes.
We are nyknickspodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us, and we're NY Knicks Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we started a new YouTube channel at NY Knicks Podcast on YouTube.
And Jay is thinking about starting Knicks Shorts. Shorts are YouTube's version of copying TikTok. So tune into YouTube Shorts. Anthony writes, with the Donte sign, are the Knicks forced to play more small ball and fast-paced tempo? Will that allow the 3-point shooting to improve on the team overall?
I really hope it leads to more ball movement in general.
I mean, but like, dude, was Obi? I mean, the team played fast with Obi, I guess. Was not having Obi there. I always felt like Obi. Some of the things that like the positive about Obi really didn't manifest themselves. Like, I don't think he really spaced the floor like people like. Even though he stood out the 3 point line, I guess he did space the floor a little bit. I don't know. Do you think this small? I guess the small ball benefits of Obi. I don't know how much they materialized. Do you think the team will play faster without him though?
No, Obi was always sprinting down the court. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll make a faster pace without him, but it might make a more balanced. He had some streaks where he had a few threes, but it's not like the opposing team was like, "Oh my God, Obi's out at the 3-point line." But
Yeah,
if you have Donte
I mean,
out there, teams are gonna be keeping an eye on him.
Yeah, they will. People point out they're like Obi. If you took the games where he started, he like shot 38% from three or 40% from three over those 10-game sample. They're like, yeah, the sample that's his whole career. He shot 33%.
Right? Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
I also someone said that they're like, how can you disregard the 10-game sample where Obi shot 40% from three? And I'm like, yeah, RJ and Randall shot 40% from three for an entire season, and we disregard that sample.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, I don't know if it'll improve the 3-point shooting. I think Donte DiVincenzo will, I guess we'll see. Frank writes, the Knicks are obviously guard heavy with the signings of DiVincenzo and light on forwards with the trade of Obi. What guards are expendable and what forwards do you see the team trading for? Could you still see RJ involved in the trade at this point?
Yeah, I could see RJ involved in a trade. I think they're not going to trade Hart or Donte because they're friends with Brunson.
Or nor should you. They both seem like I think they both seem like great team basketball players, like guys you want that like help make everyone better.
Agreed. If I think you have to choose probably between Grimes and IQ.
I mean, I think RJ and Grimes and IQ, all those guys are not being traded unless it's part of like a package for a star.
Agreed. But if you get a star, those guys become expendable because somebody's not going to get minutes.
Is there a scenario where the Knicks get a star with those three players are still on the team? Like one of those guys has to be involved in the trade.
If the Knicks get a star, it's going to be RJ and then either Grimes or IQ. That's going to be
someone's going to be traded. Yes.
Unless the Knicks make a trade for a big man, then it'll be Randall and then Grimes or IQ. But Grimes or IQ are gone in a trade.
I have to say also, I'm assuming the Knicks team is basically done for the season or done for the summer unless a big trade happens. Like this is basically the team we're going.
Yeah, they're running it back with an upgrade. They're better. They're better than they were 3 weeks.
I mean, they only got Hart like at the trade deadline, so you had like less than half a season with Hart. They should all be better just alone, and then you add DiVincenzo. Like,
yeah, I mean, going into the season, the Knicks were starting Fournier and giving Cam big minutes, so it really is a very different team from last season.
Also, you replace nothing against Obi, even though I've knocked him a little bit, but you're replacing him with a guy that plays. Whether you give the minutes to DiVincenzo or RJ or Hart, whatever the minutes go to,
it's an upgrade.
You're now giving the minutes to a better defender.
Yeah.
Paul writes,
and probably a better offensive player too, to be honest.
Yeah. Paul writes, let's get crazy. I personally don't want Embiid, but how excited would you be to lose Brunson and whoever else and bring Dame and Embiid if we still had some semblance of a team around them? So you make a big trade. You trade Brunson, I guess, in a trade for Dame. You trade a couple guys in a trade for Embiid. Would you want to pair Embiid and Dame on the Knicks?
I'd rather this team, to be honest.
Yeah, you know what? If I had a bet on just have, like, it's just straight up, like, would you rather have the next 4 years of Brunson or next 4 years of Dame? I'm going to take the next 4 years of Brunson. Dame is awesome, but he's 32. He's just a lot older than Brunson is in terms of basketball. And I know Brunson's not a great defender. Dame is a turnstile that's only going to get worse on defense.
It sounds crazy saying that, but I'm with you. You're talking about you're going to have, what, age 30, 32 Brunson versus age 36 Dame.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Also, again, not Dame is obviously a better basketball player. Brunson's not going to top him being a basketball player, but right now Brunson's awesome and he's getting better.
And I
Dame's on the
don't
way
think
down.
the
He's on the way down.
difference is that big compared to paying Dame like 2.5
$60 million.
times the salary. And
If you're comparing 28-year-old Dame to 28-year-old Brunson, yeah, Dame wins. But like you're just not. That's not the comparison on the table.
Yeah.
I'd also rather. Would you rather have the next 4 years of LeBron or next 4 years of Brunson?
Right. LeBron is probably not even going to be in the league in 4 years.
Yeah, I mean the point being there, like LeBron's one of the greatest of all time, but like maybe he's in the league for another year, maybe 2 years. I'd rather bet on a younger player.
Yeah.
Jan writes, the Knicks appear to be one of the only teams to still have draft capital to make a trade, which is very smart. Look out over the league and think about the package that the T-Wolves gave up for Gobert. What players would you give up a package like that for? Salary filler, 2 young players, 4 protected firsts, and a pick swap. Name the players, Jay, that you're willing to do this for. I'm going to start. I will say I will do this for Embiid.
Really?
Go.
Okay.
You wouldn't do this for Embiid? Or we just talked about it.
Yeah, I mean that's an even bigger package than what we talked about, though.
Well, we're saying 4 Knicks, 3 Knicks first and another first, one of the other protected first, and pick swaps. Let's say an all-in package. We're going to go a crazy package. Who are you doing it for?
Giannis.
Okay, Gian. I guess let's leave it like. Obviously, I'm sure you do it for Jokic. Jokic's probably not becoming available. There's a scenario where Giannis becomes available, right?
Yeah. Once he realizes that Middleton is like borderline washed up.
He hasn't signed his big extension yet, so people think like Giannis is a free agent in 2 years. Maybe he doesn't want to sign that extension in Milwaukee. Maybe he doesn't want to play in Milwaukee for his whole career.
Yeah.
Okay, so Giannis, Embiid, who else would you do it for?
Luka.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here's one. You do it for Anthony Edwards.
Not yet.
I think I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the bank on a player, like, he is so good at such a young age. He's a guy you build a franchise around.
Maybe.
Okay. Would you do it for Wemby?
No.
Why not, Jay?
I have my doubts on Wemby.
Do you? Did you watch game 1 or game 2?
Yeah, I know. He looked really good in game 2, but
Game 1, they were like, what the hell is this? Like a guy, you're like, dude, you could just go to the basket and dunk. Stop trying to be a guard. And then game 2, obviously, figures he looks insanely talented. He may be good in year 1. If he stays healthy, year 3 and beyond, he could be a goddamn force.
I think he's going to be very good. I don't know. I feel like every other year now they dub somebody the next like greatest player
I
ever.
mean they do, but not to this level. Like he's
I
think he's the most heralded player since
Zion was the same thing.
Zion was pretty big. Yeah. So okay, of the guys that have been like who like it's Wemby, Zion, and before that, I guess Durant, but really LeBron before that.
No, Porzingis they were talking about. They called him the unicorn.
Yeah, but that was after he was drafted. He wasn't like in the draft. Going into the draft, people were like, "This guy Porzingis looks amazing." Like you called it. It was like a good prediction. The Knicks were going to take him because he wasn't like this guy. He wasn't considered a phenomenon before he even got drafted.
Right.
By the way, Porzingis, like, I'm like, Porzingis is only 2 inches shorter than him. He can do a lot of the stuff that Wemby can. Which makes me also think, like, are we overrating Wemby?
Yeah, I'm not going to, I'm not saying he's not going to be really good. I feel like people might be getting a little bit too excited.
I mean, I was like, Summer League game that's completely meaningless? I have to tape this and watch every moment of it.
It's not even that. I'm just looking at his European stats, and it looks like he sucks at shooting.
Yeah, I mean that stuff might get better.
It might, but it might.
He
not.
had there was one shot he hit like that was like a it was just like a quick turnaround like shot when it was like one of those shots you're like he can shoot. Like it was just like it was like a, like he can figure this
Look,
out.
you could go on YouTube and you could watch a 20-minute clip of him hitting insane shots. But then you look at his stats and he shoots 34% for his career. So you're like,
He shot like 25% last year from three. Yeah.
yeah. So let's just say
He's also like it's also how you have to figure out how to use him. Like why are you giving him the ball at the 3-point line? I guess maybe he shoots threes, but how about you just give him the ball 6 feet from the basket and he becomes unstoppable there?
maybe he doesn't have a lot of muscle. A lot of these guys are just going to back him down to the free throw line.
It should be interesting because you're like it's one thing to do it against like it's NBA players are goddamn strong. Yeah. So it should be interesting to see how this goes. I think there'll be parts of this year where people are like, the Wemby's a giant bust, and then parts of the year where people are like, oh my god, he's insanely good.
Yeah,
he'll have an up and down season, I guess. Like some amazing highlights, and then some games you're like, he looked that good. He's got to learn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, other players that like would you trade for Steph Curry? Big package for Steph Curry right now. He's another level better than he's old. He's in the 30s, but he's a whole other level than Dame.
He's at the age where he could fall off like any moment. I'd be so worried about that.
He's an unbelievable shooter. He's not old enough. I mean, he's not going to be on the table, but and there's no way he's being traded. But I think I would do that for Steph, even at this age. There are probably other players. I'm just trying to think of. It'd probably have the younger players that are. There aren't too many other guys I'd really go all. I wouldn't go all in for Zion. I assume you agree on that because of the injury risk.
Yeah, definitely not. There's really not that many players.
No, not a million players I'd go all in. Would you go all in for Donovan Mitchell?
No. I don't think we wanted to go all in before the Knicks stomped them.
No. Anyone else come to mind?
I mean, there's players I would make a lesser package for, but nothing like that, Godfather.
It's tough because it's hard. I think it's going to be hard to make, like, let's say Brandon Ingram. You're like, I probably wouldn't give up my whole franchise for Brandon Ingram, but you're not going to be able to trade a lesser package for Brandon Ingram. You'll have to trade a lot to get him.
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between a lot and the package you mentioned.
Yes, fair point. Okay. And Ramsey writes, why are we stuck with Randall?
He's only making 20-something million a year. I mean, did you see all the insane contracts that have been given out in free agency? Like, Randall's contract's actually really good now.
Jeremy Grant makes something like 32 million.
Yeah, Dylan Brooks is making 20 million a year.
I mean, the cap is going up, so I don't know. And Barrett Muse writes, will there be another move the Knicks make this offseason?
I don't think so. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think they're going to try and run it back. And if it doesn't look good by the trade deadline, they'll make a move. But I think they're just going to run it back and see how it looks. And might not be the worst idea. A lot of teams made some very risky moves, and it could backfire very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, again, like just using Chicago as an example of going all in and having it immediately not work out. I mean, part of it was Lonzo Ball getting injured. Mm-hmm. So I want to do
Brooklyn did it twice.
What'd you say?
Brooklyn did it twice. I mean, a lot of these all in.
You remember when they won New York in 2019? And they're not actually in a bad place where they are because they really got a lot for Durant. So, like, Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges is, like, pretty solid to build around.
I think they got more than they even thought they were going to get because I think Bridges is way better than they thought he was going to be.
Well, they said, and Bill Simmons talks about this a lot, with, like, new owners just want to make a big move. And so, like, before that, it was like, we can't throw in Mikal Bridges to get Kevin Durant. And the new owner was like, wait, that's what's holding up me getting Kevin Durant? Make the trade now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to do a go through. Free agency happened. We're not going to go in depth on every team, but I wanted to go through every team and just quickly go, I like what they're doing, or what in God's name are they doing?
Okay.
So we can go fast through every team, and we'll try to make this a fast bit.
We have about 10 minutes.
Okay. So, Jay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. The Atlanta Hawks. They got DeJounte Murray for a 4-year extension, and they traded what's his name for almost nothing. Their power forward.
Duarte.
What?
Oh, Hawks. Sorry.
Yeah, the Hawks. What's his name?
Collins.
Yeah, John Collins. They traded him for almost nothing. What do you think? Are the Hawks in the right direction?
They got worse. Not that Collins was great, but they didn't replace him with anybody better, so they got worse.
And last year, DeJounte Murray and Trey didn't really work well together.
Not
But
great.
keep rolling with that.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Hawks are in going nowhere land, and what the hell are you doing? The Celtics, they brought on Porzingis. They also traded away Marcus Smart, and they got rid of
Williams.
Yes, they got rid of Williams, which leaves like he was a tough player. I liked him. I wouldn't have. So what do you think of the Porzingis? So Celtics really are now Porzingis with the two main guys. With Tatum and Brown, they haven't signed Brown yet to the big max extension yet, which is weird. But what do you think about where the Celtics are going?
I like it. I think they had too many guards. I think White was playing just as good as Smart.
Marcus Smart, yeah.
They got Brogdon. They got Brown. They were a little thin on the front line. Now they got Porzingis. I like it.
Yeah, I think they had a smart summer, and
It's
if
a gamble.
Porzingis stays healthy, it seems like a pretty good move.
They just gave him
they signed him for
2 year,
an extra 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years, $60 million, I think.
Not crazy. The Nets. I'm going in alphabetical order here. They basically the only thing they really did was they signed Cam Johnson to a 4-year extension. They didn't do much else. But what do you think of the Nets summer?
It's fine. I mean, see what they got. I mean, they got so many new pieces. It's whatever. Who cares?
I mean, if I'm them, you have a lot of assets now. Roll it back, run it back, see how like things gel going forward, and be smart about building this team. They also got Dennis Smith Jr., who is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Charlotte Hornets. They gave LaMelo Ball $800 trillion, and they brought back alleged wife beater, Miles, or maybe not even alleged anymore, but Miles Bridges. What do you think?
I think Michael Jordan is the Michael Jordan of bad GMs.
Oh, and he's gone now, but before he left, he made sure they passed on Scoot and drafted Brad.
Just one last final terrible move.
What's his name again? Brad
Miller.
Brad Miller. Yeah.
It's been a while since we had
Yeah.
Brad Miller in the league.
What do you think about passing on Scoot? Brandon Miller. That's what it is.
Brandon Miller.
Yeah, who's obviously supposed to be a very good player. What do you think about I guess his thought may have been, I don't want to pair LaMelo with Scoot.
It's bad. They're bad. They're going to be bad. It's terrible.
Miles Bridges was coming into his own before he had domestic violence charges. Do you think he'll be pretty good coming back?
I think it'll be all right, but who cares? They don't have a lot of talent on that team.
Would you have given LaMelo like $160 million or whatever for $260 million? Would you have given that to LaMelo?
Again, people
who
are
has
mad
yet
about
to stay healthy.
People are mad about Randall. Look at that contract.
That contract looks so bad.
Yeah.
Bulls. So I'm going to go with what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
Bulls. They said everything's working really well, so we'll extend Vucevic. We'll extend Kobe White. We'll add Javon Carter and Torrey Craig, and we're not going to trade anyone. So we're just going to go back. We're going to run this shit back because it's going so well.
What the hell are they doing?
Yeah. Cleveland. Cleveland had a nice regular season. Ran into a wall when they met the Knicks. They decided they added Max Strus. They added George Niang. Re-upped Karis LeVert. Added Damian Jones. They kept their core four intact. What do you think?
I like it. They got better. They were a 4 seed, and they added like two very good players. I like it.
I appreciate that they did nothing to combat the fact that the Knicks have Mitchell Robinson and iHeart, who will beat them again in the playoffs next year. But I can't disagree. Like the moves were decent.
Yeah.
Dallas, who decided to tank at the end of last year and screw the Knicks over out of a pick, they gave Kyrie 3 big years. They brought in Grant Williams. They brought Dante Exum out of wherever he was playing. They got Rashawn Holmes, got Seth Curry. What do you think of what the Mavericks are doing?
It's all right. I mean, it's not like an exact killer's row of players, but they added decent talent.
They re-upped on the arsonist, who will burn the franchise down and get Luka to demand a trade. But if you're going to do that, the rest of the moves make sense because the team is better.
Yeah.
And Rashawn Holmes is a pretty good guy to get, basically, because they need another big. The Nuggets, all they did was they got Reggie Jackson on a 2-year deal. They brought back DeAndre Jordan. What the hell are the Denver Nuggets doing?
And they lost Brown.
And they lost Bruce. They were not willing to pay $20 million a year for Bruce Brown. That's crazy. So I guess what the hell are they doing? And they're probably the preseason favorite to win the title.
Yeah.
So I obviously like what they're doing. Detroit, they signed Isaiah Stewart for a 4-year extension because you cannot have enough centers on the roster.
The hell are they doing?
What the hell are they doing? I mean, really, yeah, they have Duran from last year's draft. They got the dude from Golden State, the #1 pick. What's his name again?
Weitzman.
Yeah, they got Weissman. And they got Isaiah Stewart. All seem to play the same position. See how that works out. They also got Joe Harris.
They paid a lot. They paid a lot for a washed-up Joe Harris.
Yeah, they get Cade Cunningham back, who should be healthy. They get Ivy, should be a year. I don't hate what Detroit's doing. I just didn't move the needle this offseason. They're building a solid. I mean, do you like building on Jade and Ivy and Cade Cunningham?
It's all right.
I might have traded Bogdan, whatever, because you could have gotten some value for him.
Yeah. They're going to stop.
Okay, Golden State. They brought back Draymond Green. They signed Corey Joseph as a backup Chris Paul is the big move. What do you think about what Golden State's doing? And I know you hate Chris Paul, so just
I do.
Try to keep that out of it.
I do, but being a backup and playing 15 to 20 minutes a game it's a pretty good backup.
He's probably playing 20 to 25 minutes a game.
It's okay. It's okay. I feel like their window is very quickly shutting.
Yes. You got to do something. Your window's shutting. You got to make some swings. Chris Paul is, even at his age, is not a bad swing.
Yeah.
Okay, I like what they're doing. Houston, they signed Dylan Brooks to a 4-year huge contract because, I don't know, they gave Fred Van Vliet $40+ million a year.
What the hell are they doing?
They got Jeff Green on a 1-year contract because he has to play for every team. I don't know. I guess he'll be a Knick next year. I don't know. What do you think about the Rockets?
No. What the hell are they doing?
I'm going to say I don't hate what they're doing in the sense of maybe they think their young players will develop a little better if they have a competent point guard, and they look at Van Vliet as a competent point guard to help develop the guys.
I hate what they're doing.
Okay. I don't hate. They got a young team, a lot of talent. The Pacers, they got Obi Toppin. They gave Halliburton a huge 5-year deal, and they gave Bruce Brown a big 2-year contract. What do you think about the Pacers?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone can unleash the Toppin, it would be Halliburton. Do you think Halliburton's worth $50 million a year or whatever how much he's getting paid?
I don't know what anybody's worth anymore because every contract made my eyes pop out of my head, every single one. So I don't know what anybody's worth anymore.
Yeah, I'd rather pay Halliburton $50 million or whatever the damn contract is than pay LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
It's crazy also, Halliburton's the guy the Knicks should have drafted. He gets $50 million a year. The guy the Knicks drafted is traded for the most worthless second-round picks imaginable.
Yeah.
But I like what they're doing. The Clippers, they got Russell Westbrook on the cheapest contract you could have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
That's
2
pretty
years,
much
$8
it.
million or something?
It's $8 million over 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like something I forget the exact numbers, but they're insanely cheap.
Yeah.
It's an insanely reasonable contract for Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they do something else? Or am I forgetting?
They lost Reggie Jackson.
Yeah.
Um,
If you're the Clippers, does it make sense to keep running this back?
no. Their whole roster is injury-prone guys. Kawhi, Paul George, Powell. They're all injury-prone. So I don't know.
I mean, I guess you look at this and go like, hey, at least like if they're ever healthy in the playoffs, man, Kawhi's gonna be all like Kawhi looks pretty awesome if you could just keep him freaking healthy.
I'm not saying what the hell are they doing, but I don't like what they're doing.
I don't love it. I just don't know what else they could. I don't like this seems like if you were running the team, would you have said like let's trade these guys or would you said let's run it back?
I think I would have blown it up.
I feel like I know sunk cost is sunk cost, but I feel like you're like we gave everything to get Paul George and Kawhi. Let's give it one more run.
Yeah.
Kawhi looked awesome in the playoffs when he played.
Yeah.
And the Lakers, they re-upped Hachimura for 3 years. They brought in Torian Prince for 1 year, which I would have liked for the Knicks. Austin Reeves on a very reasonable 4-year deal. Cam Reddish, D'Angelo Russell, Gabe Vincent. What do you think of the Lakers offseason?
I can't believe they were able to reload like this. Like, as much as
Yeah.
I don't like the Lakers, but man, what an impressive offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think Torian Prince is an underrated signing. Reeves will get better. Like, Hachimura wasn't bad. Like, they got Gabe Vincent. By the way, Miami, like, really is like, we have to get Dame or else this doesn't, like, it doesn't make sense for Miami unless they get Dame.
Yeah.
They let all these guys go.
Yeah.
Okay, Memphis. They gave Desmond Bane and his shortest arms in the world a huge contract. What do you think about Bane's contract?
It was another one that I was like, holy crap, that seems like an awful lot.
Yeah, it seems like an awful lot. And he was picked 5 picks after IQ. They also got Marcus Smart. They got Derrick Rose, and they gave up their backup point guard. Went the Wizards. Who was the backup point guard again? It is Tyus Jones, who's pretty good in Memphis.
Yeah,
but I guess like you get Marcus Smart, who plays a lot better defense.
It's fine. Yeah,
and they also they traded for the rights to not have guns in the IG in the Instagram photos from Ja.
Yeah, I mean they're on the right track.
Yeah. The Heat have only let players go, but I didn't realize this. They gave Kevin Love 2 more years.
Yeah, but they lost Vincent and Strus.
Seems pretty big.
If they don't get Dame, it's a what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, but it seems like they're going to get Dame. So
hope they don't.
The Bucks, they lost in the first round. They needed more help, so they got Jay Crowder on a 1-year deal. Why could the Knicks get Jay Crowder? I would have liked him as a backup power forward.
Yeah,
I don't know. They got Jay Crowder. They got Malik Beasley. They got Robin Lopez to go along with Brook. They re-signed Middleton. What do you think?
I feel like it's just a neutral move. They have another run in them, but I think after next season they're gonna have to make some moves.
Yeah, I think Giannis has not re-upped probably because he's like, let me see what happens next year. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind what they're doing. The Timberwolves, they gave Anthony Edwards a huge contract, which I agree with. They got Shake Milton. They got Troy Brown. They didn't do anything else, basically. What do you think about the T-Wolves?
They're stuck.
I think they need to trade. They need to trade Towns.
Probably.
And I would not trade for him, but I think they should look to like, I don't know. Edwards is still pretty young. I feel like Gobert is going to be harder to move. And you might want to just do Edwards and Gobert and move on from Towns.
Yeah.
New Orleans, they didn't really do anything. They gave Herb Jones a 4-year deal. They got Cody Zeller. Miami really lost everyone. They did not trade Zion.
That was another didn't really do anything team.
I mean, they did. I mean, the big thing they did is just say, hey, we're going to give it another go with Zion. I mean, people keep saying like that they fought like Zion's not talking to the team and like relations are bad, but maybe the Pelicans are like, yeah, let's just see what happens on the court. If he plays, we're gonna make another. If he misses a significant point of this portion of the season, well, the Pelicans have just missed out on the trade on the window to make a big trade with him.
Probably. They'll still be able
Yeah.
to trade him, but not like a gigantic package.
Right. Right now, he could still get a gigantic package. I feel like very soon you will not be able to. The Knicks we talked about obviously. OKC, they got Bertans, they got Oladipo. Their major move basically was getting Chet Holmgren back.
Yeah.
Who was injured last year. What do you think of OKC? And what do you think of OKC going forward?
I think they're in a good spot.
Something they have like 35, like they have an insane amount of first round picks over the next 5 years. I don't know what the exact number. They have a ridiculous amount.
I think they're in
apparently.
a really good spot.
Yeah, they can make a big trade. Chet apparently looked. I didn't see a lot of Chet in the summer league, but apparently he looked pretty decent. They look like they're going to be a contender soon. In a couple of years. The Magic got Joe Ingles, and they returned. They got Wagner came back on Moritz Wagner came back on a 2-year deal. What do you think what the Magic are doing?
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, you're like, hey, we just got the rookie. We have the rookie of the year. We have a good young core. Let's just run it back and see how this goes.
They're okay. I mean, they're still going to be bad, but at least they're, I guess, on the
They
upswing.
weren't as bad. The other Wagner brothers pretty darn good. They Banchero should be even better this year. Like they have a lot going on for them. Like I feel like they actually played. I think they had a bad start to last year, but they had a pretty good run after
They
their
might,
bad
you
start.
know what? They could probably be at the fighting for the bubble area.
I think they're going to be in the play. I mean, in at least the bubble next year.
Yeah.
The Sixers, the big move they've made is not trading James Harden yet. Rumors are that James Harden may come back now. We don't know. What do you think of the Sixers if they have to trade James Harden?
I mean, either way, I think they're not in a good spot.
No, I do not think they're in a great spot there. The Suns, speaking of teams that figured something out in the offseason, they got Bradley Beal, they got Eric Gordon, they got Damian Lee, they got Josh Okogie, and they got Utah Wanatabe from the Nets, who I kind of wanted the Knicks. They had a pretty good offseason.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how do you like the Beal move?
Very risky. Very, very risky.
I think you already had Durant. Durant could ask out at any time because that's the player he is. I think he had to make a swing.
I do too. I just
They were kind of capped at like there weren't that many swings they could make either. So like I don't know. I feel like this is like I feel like there weren't too many like things available to them. This was not a bad move to make. I mean, I don't know if it'll work out, but
it's all right. Yeah, I'm very curious to see if this works out at all.
Trailblazers, they re-upped Jeremy Grant for 5 years and 160 million. They brought back Matisse Thybulle. And bigger move, they got Scoot, and they are likely to trade Dame. What do you think?
I think they're in a great spot.
If they can get a good return for Dame, then yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a guy like Scoot who's supposed to be awesome. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like things will work out for you. Kings, they got Duarte, they got Alex Len, they gave Sabonis. By the way, who's better, Sabonis or Randall?
You could argue Sabonis is better, but it's close. It's very, very, very close.
It's very close. When they play each other, Randall seems to be better. It's very, very close. And Sabonis' contract is now double Randall's contract.
Yeah. So, you go.
So, what do you think about the Kings offseason?
It's not great. I feel like they're missing a piece, but they also didn't do anything stupid. So for the Kings, that's like an amazing offseason.
I mean, they had their best year in a long time. And in theory, Keegan Murray in particular should get better and make a big difference. The Spurs, did they make any big offseason moves?
Well, they should be a little bit better, I would think.
they drafted an alien who should be awesome. So obviously I love what they're doing. The Raptors, they gave Jacob Pertl a huge contract, got Dennis Schroeder, decided not to blow up the roster, but now they do not have a point guard either.
Yeah.
Well, a point guard either. What do you think?
They're probably
Well, I guess they have
biggest-
Dennis Schroeder to run the offense.
They're the biggest what the hell are they doing team.
Yeah, you feel like them in Chicago, like you're supposed to make these. You have some foresight, blow the team up. The Jazz, they got Clarkson on a 3-year extension. They got John Collins because they need more power forwards. They got a lot of. They had all these picks they got from the the Gobert trade, and
They're
from
in a
the
good
Donovan
spot.
Mitchell trade, and
Yeah.
they are kind of sitting on their hands.
They're in a good spot.
Yeah, I can't hate their spot, but you think they should have done more?
Same question as the Knicks. Like, did they make a move just to make a move, or are they? You know,
I mean, the Knicks seem further along than the Jazz do. I mean,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I guess you're right. You can sit on. I mean, also,
What's the
you
rush?
can sit on your. Yeah, what's the Russ? And the last one was the Wizards. The Wizards had a weird offseason. They traded Beal for almost nothing because there's no trade clause. Porzingis left, but they gave Kuzma a huge deal. Brought in random players from Gallinari to Muscala. They got Tyus Jones, who's pretty decent. They got Jordan Poole for some reason. Landry Shamet. I am not sure if there must be someone good in next year's draft because it seems like the Wizards are tanking, but only kind of tanking.
I feel like they made themselves just good enough to finish around 10th again. They just love that.
Maybe
10th spot.
11. It seems like a bunch of weird moves, like either get bad or try to get good. The Kuzma move I found just perplexing.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a long segment, but I think we are good for the show.
Right. So thanks for listening, everybody. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel at NY Knicks Podcast. And we're NY Knicks Podcast on everything else. Facebook, Instagram, NY Knicks Podcast at gmail.com is our email. And we will be back in a week or two.
And as soon as Jay gets this podcast up, the Knicks will make a gigantic trade and we'll be like, God damn it.
There you go. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. We will talk to you soon.
Goodbye, everybody. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You better go away.
I'm gonna leave.